Ladies and gentlemen, sons and daughters of the soil, children of promise, I welcome you to a truth so old it sings in the bones, and yet so fresh it dances in the soul. Sit still, lean in, and listen with the ears of your spirit, for I am about to tell you what your grandmothers always knew, and what the world tried to make you forget. You see, God didn't just give us earth to walk on. He gave us the elements, the sacred tools of his wisdom. And when you mix two of his holiest gifts, salt and honey, you awaken something the world cannot contain. I'm here to tell you, mix salt with honey, and in 7 days you will begin to see abundance bloom like roses after the rain. Salt, my dear child, is older than your questions and wiser than your worries. It is the mineral that remembers the beginning of time, that remembers when the seas were young and the mountains were still sleeping in the belly of the earth. Ah, my dear, Mr. Salt, my dear child, is older than your questions and wiser than your worth. You awaken something that begins with a sigh, and the mountains were still sleeping in the belly of the earth. Ah, salt is the mineral that remembers the beginning. Salt is patient. It waits for generations beneath the soil, gathering power, storing memory, holding the silent prayers of those who came before us. And you must understand this. Salt is not just seasoning, not just a pinch of flavor. It is covenant. It is preservation. It is protection. It is God's own way of teaching us that what he gives is meant to endure, to last, to keep us from rotting away in our doubts and fears. Long before our mothers' mothers were born, salt was used to seal sacred promises. Kings and prophets and wandering tribes in the desert held salt in their hands and understood that it was more precious than gold, more necessary than even honey on the tongue. You see, salt does not just add taste to life. It preserves what is good. It purifies what has been tainted. It stands as witness that what God has spoken over you shall not spoil, shall not wither, shall not fade in the heat of the world's scorn. When you hold salt in your hands, you are holding generations of covenant. You are holding the wisdom of oceans, the sweat of your ancestors' brows, the tears they shed so you could stand here today, strong, whole, unbroken. Do not let the world tell you it is small, insignificant, or common, for it is the simple things, child, that God uses to confound the mighty. Salt is common, yes, but it is also holy. It is humble, but it is also powerful. Think of the old mothers in the kitchen stirring pots of beans and rice, whispering prayers over bubbling stew while dropping in that pinch of salt. Think of soldiers carrying salt in their packs to heal wounds on the battlefield. Think of babies born into this harsh world, rubbed with salt in ancient tradition to guard them from harm, to remind the devil he cannot touch what God has set apart. That is salt, my dear one, a barrier, a promise, a shield and a bridge, all at once. And I want you to remember this truth. When Jesus spoke to the crowd, when he looked upon the faces of fishermen, beggars, widows, and the broken-hearted, he did not say they would become salt. He said, "You are the salt of the earth." He was reminding them, reminding you, that you already carry the power to preserve what is good, to season the world with kindness, to stand as witness to a God who does not forget his children. Salt is not loud, but its absence is felt immediately. Salt does not boast, but when it is missing, everything is bland. Everything is weak. Everything falls apart. That, my darling, is how your spirit should move through this world. Quiet strength, humble power. the ability to keep what is good from spoiling, to stand between the rot and the hope, to hold the line when everything threatens to collapse into decay. And yes, salt can sting. When poured on a wound, it burns like fire. But do not curse that burn. It is the sting that heals, the pain that purifies, the cleansing that prevents the wound from turning rotten. Your words, your truth, your very life must sometimes be salt in the wounds of this world. Painful, yes, but necessary to bring healing, to keep the soul from growing gangrene with bitterness and hate. I tell you, don't you shrink from your calling. Don't you dull your shine so others can stay comfortable. You are salt. You are necessary. You are chosen to stand watch over the blessings God has given you, to protect the goodness He has planted in your spirit, in your family, in your future. And when you mix that salt with honey, you do something miraculous. You remind the universe that life is both bitter and sweet, that preservation is holy, and that healing flows from the hand of the Almighty. Salt by itself is strong, but honey gives it mercy. Together, they transform every bitter trial into a sweet testimony. Child, you are not here by accident. You are not here just to watch others feast. You are not here just to watch others feast. You are here to keep the feast from spoiling. You are here to remind the world that what God makes is good, and that it stays good when you guard it with holy salt. So sprinkle a little on your doorstep. Stir a pinch into your prayers. Rub it gently on your heart, where old wounds still ache. Let salt remind you of the covenant you have with the God who loves you too much to let you spoil, too much to let you be trampled underfoot. God is integral. God is integral. To love the world you spoil, too much to let you spoil, too much to let you be trampled underfoot, under pressure of bondage to selflessness, to selflessness, to selflessness, to selflessness, to selflessness, to selfless. You, my dear, are the salt of the earth. Walk proud, walk humble. Walk knowing that in your quiet, in your strength, in your steadfast preservation of all that is holy and good, you carry a power older than the mountains and more enduring than the seas. Let the world taste and see. Let them know you by the flavor of your love, by the preservation of your hope, by the strength of your soul. For salt may be silent, but its presence changes everything. And so do you. Honey, let me tell you something about combining salt with honey, about setting your intention and stirring them together like a sacred potion in the palm of your hand. When you do this, you aren't just performing some ritual you read about. You are declaring with every grain and every drop that you are ready for transformation, that you are ready to let God take your bitterness and make it sweet, your trials and turn them into triumphs, your empty table and lay a feast upon it that will make your enemies hush with astonishment. Day one is where you begin, shaky maybe, unsure perhaps, wondering whether this simple act could change the course of your life. And child, I say to you, that is exactly how faith moves. Not with trumpets and fireworks, but with the quiet courage of a soul whispering, I am ready. That is all God needs. A whisper, a willing heart, the smallest crack in your doubt, so He can let in His light. You take that spoonful of honey, golden and thick like liquid sunshine, and you honor it. You don't rush. You don't dismiss it as superstition or silly nonsense. No, you respect it as a gift, because every sweet thing that comes from the earth is a reminder that God intends for you to know joy, to taste goodness, to smile even after the tears have fallen for years. You mix the salt slowly, feeling it dissolve into that honey, becoming one, becoming whole. And as you stir, you pray, not some complicated prayer with big words you don't understand, but the cry of your own spirit. Lord, make my life new. Lord, preserve what is good. Lord, heal what is broken. Lord, bring sweetness to the bitter corners of my heart. On this first day, you do not need to prove anything. You do not need to fight the world or justify your need. You only need to show up and let God see you. God sees you as you are. God sees you when you are sick. God sees you when you are aching. God sees you when you are destitute. God sees you when you are disappointed. God sees you when you are destitute. God sees you when you are sick. God sees you when you are destitute. God sees you when you are disappointed. God sees you when you are sick. God sees you. You only need to place your hands on what He has given you and say, yes, I am willing. That is enough. You rub that mixture on your wrists because your hands carry your story into the world. They hold your children. They sweep your floor. They work your fields. They lift in praise when you feel the Holy Spirit rising in your bones. You put a dab on your doorpost because your home is your sanctuary. And every door you walk through should be blessed, guarded, and claimed in the name of divine abundance. You let the smell rise and fill your home so that every evil spirit lurking in the shadows will flee, knowing you are covered in the promises of God. On this first day, you begin to notice something. Maybe it's small. The tension in your chest loosens just a little. Maybe you hear laughter where there was only silence before. Maybe the sun seems brighter, or the song of the morning bird a little sweeter. Child, do not dismiss these signs. God speaks in whispers first, testing your heart to see if you will listen, if you will notice, if you will say, thank you for the small before He gives you the large. And I want you to know, our ancestors, the ones who walked barefoot on blistering earth and still praised God with cracked lips, that their prayers were not in vain, because you are here continuing the journey, carrying the torch, lifting your hands and declaring victory before it comes. This is the beginning, and beginnings are holy. They may be messy, they may be small, they may feel foolish, but they are holy because they carry the seed of what is yet to come. Do not despise the seed, beloved. Do not spit on the soil because the fruit has not yet grown. Plant it with faith. Water it with gratitude. Let the salt and honey mixture be your first watering, the first kiss of the morning rain that coaxes green from dry ground. Some will laugh at you. Some will tell you you're wasting your time. Let them laugh. Let them chatter. Their words are wind, but your prayers are thunder. Let your spirit boom louder than their doubts. Let your faith stand taller than their disbelief. And remember this too. On this first day, you do not need to feel powerful. You do not need to feel holy. You do not need to feel worthy. God has never waited on your feelings to pour out His blessings. He only waits on your willingness. So come as you are, tired, uncertain, scarred, hopeful, trembling, strong. Bring your whole self to the honey and sold. God will do the rest. So lift your head, child. Look to the heavens and say thank you for this day, this chance, this breath in your lungs that is proof you still have a destiny to fulfill. You have begun. That is enough. That is holy. That is the first day of the rest of your abundance. Stand still in your kitchen or at your bedside, wherever you make this prayer, and listen. Somewhere in the hush of your heart, you will hear the ancestors singing. You will hear angels whispering. You will hear God himself saying, "It is good." And that is how you begin. That is how you stir the salt and honey and unlock the door to a life you have only dreamed about. Start here. Start now. Start with trembling hands if you must. But start. On the third day, child, something stirs in the air around you. You may not see it with your eyes, but your spirit feels the shift, like the hush before a summer storm, like the crackle of lightning in the distance. The salt and honey have begun their sacred work, seeping into the corners of your life, where the cobwebs of fear and doubt have gathered for too long. You rise from your bed and notice the heaviness that used to cling to your shoulders is beginning to lift. The world, though still hard and unpredictable, seems softer at the edges. You hear the wind rustling the trees, and it sounds like a hymn. You taste your morning tea, and it feels like hope slipping down your throat, warming the cold spaces that life's trials carved in your chest. Oh yes, baby, this is the day when doors begin to creak open, not with grand fanfare, but with the holy hush of divine timing. You might receive a phone call from someone you haven't heard from in years, offering you a chance to mend old wounds. You might see an email appear like a dove at your window, carrying news of a job, an opportunity, a blessing you thought would never come. Don't brush these moments aside. Don't call them coincidence. Remember, coincidence is just God's way of remaining anonymous. On this third day, your prayers start to bloom, slowly, tenderly, like a rose pushing through the cracked sidewalk of your struggles. You have mixed your salt and honey with trembling faith, and now, like yeast in the dough, it is rising, transforming what was flat and ordinary into something abundant, something nourishing, something that will feed your soul and the souls of those around you. I know you've been weary. I know you've cried into your pillow at night, asking why doors stayed locked, why every turn seemed to lead to another dead end. But listen to me, child. Sometimes God doesn't open the door because he is strengthening your knock. He is building your muscles of faith, fortifying your spirit, teaching you the song of persistence, so that when the door does open, you will walk through with a spine made of iron and a heart made of gold. Yes. Yes, made you smart, sometimes made you smart, sometimes made you smart, forbearing you. You see, on this third day, something deeper than chance is at work. Heaven has been watching your small acts of devotion. The angels have been leaning over the balcony of eternity, whispering, "Look at her. Look at him, still believing, still hoping, still mixing salt and honey when the world calls it foolish." And the heavens cannot resist a faithful soul. It is here, in the quiet of this third day, that you must stand guard over your mind. Doubt will creep in like a thief, whispering, "This is nonsense, nothing is changing, you are still stuck, still broke, still broken." But you look that lie square in the face and say, "I have planted my seed. I have stirred my mixture. I have spoken to my God, and I will not waver." Some days the evidence of blessing does not come as fireworks in the sky, but as a small breeze that cools your fevered brow. That is how the third day works. It is subtle. It is delicate. It is the hand of God brushing against your cheek, saying, I am here, I am working. Trust the process. This is the day to keep your eyes wide, your heart open, your spirit anchored in gratitude. Sing hymns as you wash your dishes. Sing softly as you fold your clothes. Leave that dab of salt and honey mixture on your wrists, on your doorpost, as a reminder that abundance is not only coming, it is already seeping through the cracks of your life, like dawn breaking after the longest night. Don't let impatience choke your blessing. Don't dig up the seed because you cannot yet see the shoot. Everything grows beneath the surface first, in the hidden dark, where God molds and shapes the miracle, so it will be strong enough to bear the weight of your destiny. I want you to remember, child, that the third day is sacred. It is the day of resurrection, the day when hope rises from the grave of doubt, the day when what was dead in you begins to breathe again. Hold your head high. Walk with your shoulders back. Speak blessing over your home, your family, your future. Proclaim abundance even if your pockets are empty, because faith is not about what you see. It is about what you know in your bones, even when the world calls you foolish. Of all, be grateful. Thank God for the small signs, the subtle shifts, the quiet miracles. Gratitude is the magnet for blessings. A thankful heart is the soil where abundance takes root and blossoms into a harvest so great you will not have room enough to store it. So, on this third day, keep stirring your salt and honey. Keep praying. Keep watching. The door is opening. The blessing is coming. And when it arrives, you will look back and remember this day, the day you chose to believe in the soft, steady whisper of God, rather than the loud, hollow voices of your fear. Child, the third day is not the end. It is only the beginning. Keep walking. Keep hoping. Keep praising. Your abundance is nearer than you think. On the fourth day, something powerful begins to happen, something the enemy fears more than all your prayers whispered in trembling, and all your tears shed in secret. On this day, child, your enemies begin to scatter. They feel the shift in the atmosphere, even if they don't understand it, even if they can't put words to it. They sense that the salt you've sprinkled and the honey you've mixed has summoned the armies of heaven to your side, and the darkness that thought it had claimed you forever begins to tremble at the sound of your rising spirit. You see, there are forces that have lingered in the corners of your life, hidden in the shadows of your past, waiting for moments of weakness to whisper poison into your ear. They have tried to convince you that you were small, that you were broken, that you were forgotten and undeserving of abundance. But on the fourth day, child, the light of God grows so bright in your life that those forces cannot stand the heat. The old curses begin to crack. The generational chains begin to loosen. The spirits that fed off your doubt and confusion begin to scatter like roaches fleeing a sudden light. Do not be surprised if you feel some resistance on this day. The fourth day is the battlefield, the turning point, the place where your spiritual enemies try one last time to hold you in place because they know their grip is slipping. You might feel a sudden wave of fear wash over you, or old memories might surface, taunting you, mocking the progress you have made. Stand tall, baby. Square your shoulders. Look those ghosts straight in the eye and say, I am no longer yours. God has declared me free, and I will not bow to you again. And remember this too, God did not bring you this far to leave you trembling and defenseless. The same God who parted the Red Sea, who shut the mouths of lions, who walked through fire with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, is walking with you now. When you mix that salt with honey, you were not just performing a ritual. You were inviting the power of heaven to dwell in your home, in your body, in your very breath. That power is not fragile. It does not waver in the face of evil. It burns like a holy flame that nothing can extinguish. You might feel the battle raging around you, but don't you dare lay down your weapon of faith. Don't you dare stop praying, stop believing, stop stirring that sacred mixture each day. Because, child, the enemy only fights when he knows he is losing. The pressure you feel, the chaos you sense in the air, it is not proof that your prayer isn't working. It is proof that your prayer is shattering chains in the spirit realm. On this fourth day, walk through your home with your head held high. Touch every doorframe, every window, every wall, and say, "This place is blessed. No evil shall enter. No harm shall befall my family. Every plan of the enemy is broken. Every curse is canceled. Every shadow is cast out by the light of God's glory." Let your voice ring through your rooms like a bell that calls angels to attention. Let your hands do terror. If you feel fear rise, remind yourself that fear is a liar. It is the weapon of your enemy. But you have been given weapons of your own. The salt that preserves, the honey that heals, the word of God that never returns void. Use them boldly. Do not wait for permission to declare your freedom. You are a child of the Most High God, and your inheritance is victory, peace, and abundance. This day is the day when old patterns begin to break. The toxic people who drained your energy and fed off your kindness begin to back away. The burdens that weighed heavy on your back begin to lift. And yes, sometimes you will feel alone in this moment, because God is removing the dead branches so you can grow new leaves. Do not mourn what falls away. Do not cling to what God is cutting off. Sometimes the path to abundance requires pruning, requires letting go, requires cleaning the wounds, and tearing out the rot so something stronger can grow in its place. This is the fourth day's holy work, the cleansing, the purging, the setting right of things that were crooked in your life. Stand firm, child. Stand strong. Remember that God did not give you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And with that power, you speak over your life and say, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper. No evil shall stand against the light of God in me. No tongue that rises against me in judgment shall succeed." Speak it until you believe it. Speak it until the walls echo with your confidence. Speak it until the enemy flees. Because this, my child, is the promise of the fourth day, that God will scatter your enemies before you, that he will set a table in the presence of those who wished you harm, that he will turn every weapon formed against you into ashes beneath your feet. And when this day is done, when you lay your head down to rest, you will know deep in your bones that something has shifted, something has broken loose. Something dark has been driven from your life forever. Hold fast. Hold steady. The battle is fierce, but your victory is sure. God has not forgotten you. The salt and honey have done their work, and the light is driving out the darkness. Child, you are stepping into freedom, and soon you will step into abundance. Now comes the seventh day. A sacred hush falls upon your spirit, like the stillness of morning before the birds begin to sing. You've come a long way, baby. You've prayed and believed. You've stirred the salt and honey with trembling hope, with a faith both fragile and fierce. And now, you don't ask for anything. No begging, no pleading, no bargaining. On this day, you simply say thank you. Thank you for the doors that opened and the ones that stayed shut for my protection. Thank you for the doors that opened and the ones that stayed shut for my protection. Thank you for the doors that opened and the ones that stayed shut for my protection. Thank you for the doors that opened and the ones that stayed shut for my protection. Thank you for the doors that opened and the ones that stayed shut for my protection. Thank you for the doors that opened and the ones that stayed shut for my protection. Thank you for the peace that fell like soft rain after long storms of confusion. Thank you for the unseen battles you fought on my behalf. Thank you for being God, even when I didn't understand your ways. The seventh day is not about action. It's about recognition. It's about standing in stillness and seeing, really seeing, that abundance is not a destination, but a revelation. You don't have to chase what's already been assigned to you. You only have to become aware of it. The veil has been lifted. The seed has taken root. The honey and salt have done their holy dance. And now it's time to rest in the divine truth that God is faithful. Because you know the rain already came. All week you've stirred the mixture, touched your doorposts, anointed your wrists, whispered words into your morning and your midnight, and now God says, rest, my child. The work has been done. He doesn't mean your hands will never move again, but he means the striving can stop, the worry can leave, the doubt has no more room at your table. On the seventh day you put on a smile that comes from your soul, not your circumstance. You sit back not in laziness but in holy surrender. The salt and honey have opened the windows of heaven, and now it's your job to receive. Yes, receive. That's the thing many of us struggle with. Not asking, not praying, but receiving. We don't always believe we're worthy. We question if God really heard us. But the seventh day is about saying, I am ready. Not in fear, not in shame, but in the full dignity of someone who knows they are a child of the Most High. You walk through your home and it feels different, lighter, like the very walls have been washed in light. Your heart isn't racing anymore. Your mind isn't choked with worry. There is a steady calm, a warmth, a joy that doesn't come from the outside in, but from the inside out. And that, beloved, is what abundance really looks like. It's not the car or the title or the applause. It's that still, sweet place in the center of your soul where you and God sit together and just be. Now, you may not have seen the floodgates burst open with riches and rewards, but don't be deceived. The seventh day is when the shift becomes permanent, because for the rest of your life, you'll no more be deceived than you would be permanent. It is when the favor starts following you, not because you're striving for it, but because it recognizes you as a vessel it must flow through. Some things that seemed impossible on day one now seem inevitable. Some relationships that were broken begin to mend without force or control. Some opportunities begin to find you, as if heaven whispered your name in rooms you've never entered. That's what happens when you align with the divine. That's what happens when you mix salt with honey and dare to believe for 7 days straight. Let your home be quiet on this day. Light a candle. Play a hymn. Let gratitude rise like incense. This is a Sabbath of the Spirit. a holy pause in a world that never stops. You don't have to do to be worthy. You don't have to hustle to be seen. You just have to rest and receive. And this day, more than all the others, is when you share. Yes, baby, you share. Because God doesn't give for you to hoard. He gives so the blessing flows through you to others. You take a drop of that honey and a grain of that salt, and you pass it on to your neighbor, your sister, your child, your brother, the stranger you meet on the path. You tell them, here, taste and see, the Lord is good. You become the evidence of abundance. You become the miracle, and not by performing or pretending, but by living in the overflow of grace. This is the day you remind yourself, I am whole, I am loved, I am enough. You remind yourself that abundance is not just what you hold in your hand, but what you hold in your heart. It's the peace that doesn't make sense. It's the laughter that returns after years of silence. It's the knowing that even when storms come, you now have shelter that cannot be shaken. So sit, smile, breathe, and say thank you. Thank you for the salt that preserved me. Thank you for the honey that healed me. Thank you for the God who never left me. Thank you for the abundance I now carry. And baby, when they ask you what changed, don't just tell them you prayed. Tell them you believed. Tell them you mixed salt with honey. Tell them you gave God 7 days, and He gave you back a life transformed.